wonder why so many companies seem desperate to drag you back to the office, even when you're more productive at home? It's not just about collaboration or company culture. There's something deeper at play here, and in my opinion, it's emotional. So today we're going to be uncovering the real reasons companies hate work from home. And trust me, it's not what they're telling you. So first off is what I like to call the productivity paradox. Let's start with the surprising truth. Most employees are more productive at home. Studies have shown that remote workers can often outperform their office counterparts. We've talked about this a lot on this particular YouTube channel. They complete tasks faster and with fewer distractions. Yet companies are still reluctant to embrace the change. Why? Well, in my opinion, it's lack of control. Many companies feel they lose control when employees are remote and they can't physically see what you're doing, and that makes them nervous. It's the classic, if I can't see it, it's not happening mentally. And in my opinion, this stems to management culture. So some leaders are stuck in the mindset that presence equals productivity, and they believe that being in the office is necessary to actually ensure employees are truly working, even though data often shows otherwise. So when I think about this is a perfect example for tools like Time Doctor that can allow you to be able to at least gain some of that presence back without actually directly engaging in forcing everyone back inside of the office. The reality is that we have to have a pragmatic solution to this particular problem, and I think that this is the number one reason why people are going back to the office, and also why I think Time Doctor is such a fantastic tool to be able to solve that problem for so many companies. The second big one is fear of losing power. And here's where things get a little bit emotional. So for some companies, the office isn't just a workspace, it's a symbol of control and authority. Physical supervision in an office, you've got managers that can literally physically check in on you, hold spontaneous meetings, and monitor behavior. So working from home strips away that layer of oversight, and many leaders feel uneasy with the shift in power dynamics. You also have a visibility bias. So most employees who work from office often get more face time with their bosses. So this can lead to unconscious favoritism in remote work environments. And remote work levels the playing field by making it harder for managers to actually justify promotions based on proximity rather than actual performance. And I've seen this happen time and time again inside of not just our company, but then multiple other companies that are remote first and have experimented with hybrid. It's so important. I say this time and time again. You need to be able to actually be very overt with the way that you do management in hybrid teams much more than remote teams or office teams, because that proximity bias ends up actually being there much more often when only 10, 20, 30% of the office actually comes in on any particular day. Number three is the financial stake for many companies. The push to return to the office is about protecting financial investments. We've talked about this a lot. So office leases being the biggest one. Companies spend millions on office spaces, and having a half-empty office means they're paying for something they're not actually fully using. And with the threat of commercial real estate crashing completely, companies want employees back to justify these particular expenses, particularly the CFO and the COO, by the way. Those are generally the people that are always pushing back for the office because it's their biggest line item cost outside of their staff. Also, there's perks and benefits. So pre-pandemic, many companies attracted talent with flashy office perks. Gyms, cafeterias, lounges, these were all amazing perks pre-pandemic. But if no one is in the office, these perks lose their value, and that investment becomes essentially completely and utterly irrelevant. Number four is the collaboration myth. You've probably heard this one. We need to be in the office to collaborate more effectively. While collaboration is important, the truth is virtual tools like Slack, Zoom, and Asana make remote collaboration much easier than before. And to be completely honest with you, before the pandemic, when we had all of these remote companies, particularly attending the Running Remote conference that we do every single year, the vast majority of them were asynchronous in terms of their management stuff. So they didn't actively do meetings with people through Zoom every single day. They literally just communicated asynchronously, and this was a lot more efficient in terms of running the business. And studies show that remote teams often collaborate just as effectively, if not better, than in-person teams, as long as the right tools and processes are in place. What's really happening is that companies are uncomfortable with the new forms of collaboration, and they spent decades perfecting in-person workflows and are really hesitant to actually adapt to the new digital solutions. I mean, you can keep your head in the sand, or you can actually adapt to these new ways ways of working. And I know that it's really, really difficult. Whenever I first started to introduce the term asynchronous management, everyone kind of looked at me like, who's this weird guy talking about asynchronous management? But to be honest with you, it is probably one of the coolest and most effective ways to be able to run your business, particularly if you're the business owner, because you can spend more time working on the business than in the business, which is the only way to actually truly grow a company. Number 5 is cultural resistance. This one's a bit more intangible, but it's a real barrier for company culture. For many businesses, the office represents more than just a workplace. It's a core part of their identity. This old school mindset of some companies, especially those with older leadership, view remote work as a temporary blip, a fad that will fade, to be completely honest with you. And they're resistant to change and want things to go back to the way that they are. I am going to tell them right now, if they're watching this video, and maybe someone has sent you this video, they're not going back. No one's going back, okay? The reality is that remote work is here to stay. The data is super clear. Remote work has actually been at the same level for the last 2.5 years, floating at approximately 30%. And that hasn't changed. It's changed essentially 1% over that 2.5-year period. So if you think that everyone's just gonna go back to the office, you are absolutely and completely wrong. And if you don't adapt to this new way of management, you will be left behind. There's also this concept of fear of dilution of company culture. So leadership sometimes worries that remote work will dilute the company culture, and they fear that losing that sense of community, spontaneous idea sharing, and in-office camaraderie that they've worked so hard to build will disappear. And I also think there are other ways of doing that. I just ended up this week doing like a Oculus Rift zombie defense game with a whole bunch of employees inside of the company, and it was a ton of fun. There are other ways to be able to build culture other than beer Thursdays and pizza lunch Fridays, which suck anyways. Those pizzas are usually pretty cold. And here's the reality. It's not really about you at the end of the day. The push against work from home isn't about whether you're productive or collaborative. It's about control, power, and money. And I really wanted to be able to talk about this because this is the core component of what we're talking about. Companies are grappling with how to maintain their authority and justify their financial investments in a world where remote work is proving to be just as effective. The reality is the workplace is evolving, and the companies that refuse to adapt will find themselves struggling to keep up. That's just my opinion. But listen, what's your take here? Are you seeing the same resistance to remote work where you are? I'd love it if you could drop a comment below, and don't forget to subscribe to this YouTube channel. I found out that 97% of you have not subscribed to this YouTube channel, and that makes me sad deep down inside. So please subscribe to the channel, and if you have any questions, put them down in the comments below. Other than that, I'll see you in the next video.